Achusa yogi ma Tadi Mariga Amkam de Lucia Kurega Chipotamia Yuna Diarego Tu Saya Nili Tata Bilo Tissa Pinyati Suravani Pian like it, I don't know Lizibo Kui San Tiny Joy, Lion, Chai, Tu Pian like it, I don't know Lizi. That is a Pinyati cover. You don't know the take heavy money a poem hopeful, Dolo to the one. Jangan Yaga, Fuenso Talo, Alicia Nay, a Dola, a Golo, Theatre Yogi Bogore, so they tell the other Europe Hobo. Buddha Kura Leve, a don't know me in their body. The deep Pachana don't forget about it. Pirotania Maleve, Ekara shed lonely to Waja body. Buddha to opposite to the body. To kill it, see it, to pit it, see their die. Shooting Lia to the water Piatava. Buddha Killa, Buddha, don't have told them about that's a Buddha water. There are lady Pava. There are no very Negera, Tamiya, Yokia Pivari. To me, Asovia. The deep sanga lie Harley, there are lady delay, Sadu and let it also be up. She lived in Java, showing me a suicide not of war.
For yogis at the start of the practice, when sati and samadhi are not yet good, one needs to apply labels, the names of things that one observes when one observes whatever mind and matter arises in their body. And these names appropriate to the thing observed are called tajapanyati. This means that when there's bending, one knows it is bending. Stretching is stretching. Stiffness, standing is standing. Sitting down is sitting down. Lifting is lifting. Moving is moving. Placing is placing. These are the names that have arisen to refer to these things. And this type of name is called Panditarama. So using these names or labels is not extra. It's needed, and this is explained in the text. And not only in the texts, not only in the commentaries explaining the Pali, but also the Buddha himself in the Satipatthana Sutta taught this. He mentioned this. And in another place in the suttas, in 8 syllables, 3 words, it is mentioned, Bhutan, Bhutato Pasati, that one sees what exists as it is. So that means to observe coldness as cold, heat as heat, stiffness as stiffness. And this too is contained in the text. So a few days ago, Sayadawgyi spoke in general about this, and today Sayadawgyi would like to speak about this in terms of what is actually in the Satipatthana Sutta. So in terms of the theory and the practice that we are doing now. And the yogis, for their part, simply need to listen attentively.
Sigali talone tome solution. Kurega you pinide about Yari ha the Kureva. There are women of here, Sigali talone don't have a Buddha Sura. Do say a jump. People see how Buddha look for the little don't holiday. To check a book of Yara, Buddha look like saying, come on now, the door of it. To pure Lama the book of the Buddha Sura, Bale Sura, Shimya, and Shiva. The vipassana don't follow. The two doctors Buddha, Sarali Talone don't have a mellow. Shugui Jezi and in every leave you Piatava. Very leave you up, Dick, Kaya, Nick Werna, Kazahu. So, Seku Sekta. Lay a trade with what they are with Chitari. They will leave you quite Havadama. Kaya will not say that Dhamma, they will leave you quite Havada. Daleve, they are to the Koku, say they say that she will give you, but don't know the queer at the wall of it. That's why we are don't have it.
So to use a small word, the things that occur, all the various things that occur in one's being can be said in just one word, can be said in just one word, which is bhuta. Bhuta literally means things that exist because of their own causes. They arise, they exist due to their respective causes. And for people who like brevity, they will understand quite well just knowing this one word, bhuta. But for people who need a further explanation, although the word, this small word bhuta is used in other places, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha explained that there are 4 fields of observation. The first is kaya, or the physical matter, the body. Second is vedana, or feeling. The third is thinking, imagining, and so on, consciousness. And the fourth are general phenomena, seeing, hearing, and so on. So in terms of Pali, kaya, vedana, citta, and Dhamma, these 4 things. And the Buddha spoke about these 4 categories according to what people's tendencies are.
Shuguji, leave you them out. Patama Kaya, you did it, Baba. Now, Dudia, Musa, and Dadia, Musa, nan tettet pa be tu karoနောက်ဆုံး၄ခုမြောက်ကတော့ယုတ်ကောနာရောနှမျိုးလုံးရောနေပါရဲ့ပြည့်ညတ်တော့မပါဘူးအဲဒီ၄မျိုးဖွဲ့ပြီးတော့ဟောထားပါတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့လူဘုံလောကမှာဆိုရင်ယုတ်နာတရားနှမျိုးတွေကယုတ်တရားဟာအထင်ရှားဆုံးမို့လို့အလွယ်ဆုံးမို့လို့ကိုလေအထင်ရှားအလွယ်ဆုံးတရားအထုတ်တဲ့အခါမှာမြတ်စွာဘုရားကကာယယုတ်ကစပြီးတော့ပြထားပါတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးတို့ဓမ္မနယ်ထဲမှာလည်းပဲယထာဘာဝဥပဿနာပြီးနေပြီတော့ဆိုတာပါလို့ဆိုရိုးစကားတစ်ခုရှိပါတယ်ပြောရိုးဆိုစဉ်စကားဥပဒနာတရားရှိမှတ်တဲ့ယောဂီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေအတိညာဖြစ်အောင်ပေါ့လေကိုယ်ပဲအတိညာဖြစ်အောင်အထုတ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေထင်ရှားတဲ့အာယုံအလိုက်ဥပဒနာစအလုပ်လုပ်ရမယ်ဥပဒနာစရမယ်လို့ဒီလိုဆိုရိုးစကားတစ်ခုရှိပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဆိုရိုးစကားနဲ့လည်းကိုက်နေပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီဆိုရိုးစကားနဲ့ကိုက်ရအောင်ဆိုပြီးမြတ်စွာဘုရားလူဘုံလောကမှာဟောတဲ့တရားဆိုတော့လူတွေနဲ့အသိလျော်အသက်ဆိုင်ဆုံးကာယ အနုပဿနာကစပြီးတော့ဟောပါတယ်
Among these four fields of observation, the first, kaya, is only matter, it's just rupa. And the second and third, vedana and chitta, are only mental, nama. The fourth category, Dhamma, is both mind and matter, nama and rupa, together. There's no concept involved. No, concept is not among the four categories. So there are these four kinds of things to observe. And in the world, for us, between mind and matter, of these two, matter or rupa is the most easy to see. So the Buddha started by speaking about kaya. And there's also a saying, a principle involved in vipassana, which says, yatha akatam vipassana viniveso, which means that the yogi who is meditating to gain his or her own knowledge should start vipassana practice according to the evident, obvious object. So in accordance with this too, the Buddha started by describing the practice as beginning with kaya. And for us in the human world, that is what concerns most of us.
Shukwe ayo, shuzya ayo, lebyo kwelo. Panditarama le lebyo kwebido hotayara. Tisha chipolare kovuyare. Tisha gai mavoli, pamatata. Shuliraha laka Anupasana. Kure sekema kanzare kanzamure. Tisha chipolare che edi wurna boma. Pamatata shubira Anupasana. Segusita myomyore shivare. Segusita ni pore kamyomale tu pore dai. Pamatata shuraha. Chitta Anupasana kavare. Shaja yogna tabo tuyare. Tisha pore maleve. Pamatata shuraha. Dhamma Anupasana Satipatthana Sadhana Dhamma Anupasana lo ဒီလိုလည်းပဲသတ်မှတ်ပါရဲ့ကွာ
Because there are four kinds of objects to be observed, there are four kinds of satipatthana taught. To observe every arising physical action repeatedly is kaya Anupassana, satipatthana. And putting the attention within one's body when feeling arises, to observe it again and again, is Anupasana, satipatthana. There are many types of thinking and imagining which can arise, and when they arise, one observes them repeatedly. This is Anupasana, satipatthana. And there are other forms of true nature. When they arise, one observes them again and again, and this is Dhamma satipatthana.
Tisha Poya Kaya Sutavadeno Kaya Pore Shupaya Helu Dilu Matumene Tisha Ponia Popola Ravoli Chanza Biolushi Pamule Pola, Pemule Pola Taimula Shina Tiku Chuahu, Lamu, Shahu, Kuimu, Samu, Yetokada, Melopita, Punaga, Savali, Daria Tishada, the Tishade Kayada, from another Shua Melu, so the Chin. Matishade Kaya would have Mafumlo. She need a Uma, Matishada Maya. Machine Mabori has two years of Shiro. Shinko Nedwara. Download Yata Pagadan Sutavade. Amiade Tisha Ayu and Lies or Avoli. Kaya Tisha Gora. Tisha say, Sajilation, Pivida Kanzaya, Kanzalu Yana, Dawu Pure Valetama. Hela Nania Vale. Tisha Poyada, Pamadata Shua Melu so the Matisha Masuya Mapore Haleva Sekuna Maloya Masuya, Adi Devi Yavale Davi Malu, the show no Tenda Rigaro Sekulu Yare Hama Dhamma Atinya Yalo Pedro Sweater Cheto Matisha had a shout say Kubiro Seguema Pore Hago, where the great Dinya Yino, Pedro Timachavale, Edaria Sweatanito, Adi Swelly, Chufu, they did up Maluevo. Coido Buddha Mesagaro, Edo Sequia, a tea of Kusra Nale Taro, Tisha Poya, so the Don't have it, Tisha Pora. Yana say Termavoli. Tia Niala or Tisha Pora, that's over there. Eddie Witty the Nale Tisha Poya go Yamaya Metro. But Tisha had a Mafum Low, Machidia Mafum Low, so the Wally Jamhavio, Edo Davis somewhere.
The Buddha said that one should observe the evident arising kaya. He didn't say to observe every type of matter that arises, but to observe what is obvious, what is evident. Rising arises, falling arises, sitting arises, touching arises, lifting, moving, placing, bending, stretching. These are evident. And because the Buddha said to observe the evident kaya, the evident type of matter or action, there's no need to observe the ones that are not obvious. or the ones that are not there at all. To observe these things which are hard to see or which are not there at all is a waste of time. And this is why it is said, yatha pakatan. According to the obvious object, one should observe. So when one is observing carefully, what is it that one can observe? That's what one should be looking at. So one has to understand that what one needs to observe is the evident, the obvious arising object, not the ones that are not obvious, and not to imagine something that is not there and then try to observe that. So some people think that what they imagine or what they think is true knowledge. So this type of idea, if one holds on to this, it's not very easy to remove the idea, the attachment to thinking that what one imagines or thinks is true knowledge. So the Buddha said, he used the term the obvious or evident arising object. So to observe what it is that one can see. And that's what we should observe. No need to try to observe the ones that are not obvious or the ones that are not there.
Any yoke the ball, Miss of Yava Sagari Telone, Kaya, the Totali, Kaya, yoke ball, yoke soup. Marari Purari Suri, Janari Nudari Suri, Ye Pura, you see that Tuera Kera Dari Suri, Puranwira Era Dari Suri, Taunatina Lodari Dari Suri, Niare Sioni Suri, Anani Suri, Yadari Suri Kanago. Edama Seda Sura, a Seda, that I let see it. Then may my you to the Malay, and she will have seen it away. They see that one is to museums, to be a bully party at the Sierra. Messi Gida, Na Gida, Nakon Gida, Shah Gida, Go Gida, Dari Pani or Edama. Pido Atayo. Dari le power etama. Dari le ti ukwe bialo nale ma mho pa bu. Tamiya lak be pyo ba le tama. Khana ko ma asait bai ni anyai shi de. Edi asait bai ni paut sat tha de aya ko Pali lo kaya lo khaw ba de. Kaya kuna pyo ge de yuk de paut sat ni da de ai lo so ba de.
The Buddha used the word kaya to refer to matter. And kaya means a conglomerate, physical collection of things. For example, hardness. Hardness is a conglomerate, a collection of hardness. Softness also exists as a group of things. Same with heat or cold, lightness. These also are like a conglomerate. So is solidity. It's a solid conglomerate. Fluid, liquidity, stickiness, stiffness, tension, movement, light, also color, odors, tastes, and also, so there are 8 kinds of matter that are contained in all types of matter, these 8 kinds. And there's also the eye base, the ear base, the nose base, the tongue base, the body base. There are many, many types of matter. So in general, this is just in general the types of matter that one finds. In the body there are many, many parts. And these parts together are also called kaya, or physical conglomerate.
Any kaya kore yogasu viha. To have a kid like Manavu Shinila. To live at the deep Mishilo, at the deep Mataluza. The good kid, la good kid, that was a movie of the other body. A good movie of a good way, a good way, Pula, a good way, Machaga, Jota. A good way, Ada, a good way, Ada, Jota. A good way, down, a good way, down, Jota. Say, the young, a pound of Jota, a say the Jota, and your body. There are movie of the other, so that the world you are. There are yes of Yaga. Yogiaji, a nature, so that's a galune. Tamakeva, the Niachi, Mamere Tiari, Shukchaka. Could I play with her? Shukchaka, a nature, so that's a guy.
That kaya, or conglomerate collection of matter, is arising and passing away without a break. Continuously. If we don't pay attention to this, we don't see it. But the way it happens is just as though things are being born and then die immediately. There's heat and then it disappears. There's coldness, then it disappears. It's stiff and then it disappears. So that all the small parts are disappearing all the time. And the whole also, that's another type of disappearance. So the Buddha used a word for these things which are born and then die immediately. He used the word anicca, which means that these things are impermanent.
People get that yet, no, Toda. People don't get out of it. A good people don't go get out of it. A good way, we don't go at the door of it to a new logo. The voice a young man, countless saying, Mamma, to him, countless saying, my twin away. The pit or it, Yogiati Valley, Duka, Sayadawgyi Kilometers of Yaga, Tamatwabare. The Niapi Duga, so that's a Gane, Yuna Diari, Shuksha Taware.
If something were to arise and then stay that way, it would be okay. But things arise and then immediately pass away. It's as though they're born only to die immediately. And anything, all things which have this nature cannot be called good. So the Buddha used the word dukkha to describe these, which is translated as suffering or unsatisfactory. And with this term too, as well as the term anicca, with this term too, dukkha, the Buddha disparaged mind and matter.
And the little chibi of Pietro Diari, Mpia, waiting the little Mukona Diari who go on. Panditarama, two dear one, she live. Whatever Veda descended Jivatama level, you sat in unit, Sekuna for Tarawa. Any Jivatama also made it. Chana Joga Mahatamaji to Mahatama level through Sekuna for Tarawa. Among our Jivatama Lamachi, Paramatma level, say Kainamashi. People don't see Pima, Ruma Dalon Yao. Kona, you chip as a little level, you check Tamhalu Yao. Near Sura level, Ruma Lobilum Yao. To the what I do, Pianida. Anata, Anata. Mere on, Chanda on. Beautiful Peter, Atamashi. The yoke, the going on level, Atamaho. Yes, or Yaga. Yin San Tower, Anadalo.
There is no one who is able to make things which arise and then pass away not occur at all. There's no one who can make them stay good, stay in one way. It's not possible. Although people imagine that there is a soul, a jiva atta, that can control things, this is just imaginary. And the Supreme Being, Parama Atta, who rules all the individual souls, this too is just a product of people's imagination. This type of controller of what happens, the individual or the supreme controller of things, Jiva Atta, Parama Atta, these are not there. If something is going to happen, it happens. It occurs. One can't choose for things to happen or not happen. So they arise according to their own nature. And the Buddha used the word anatta for this. These are things which no self can make happen. No self can make them permanent. The Buddha declared that this mind and matter are not atta. They're not self.
Trong Alias or Yogi Ponsabido Pilida Samiano, Moyeno, Chedile, Tuaru, Yevia, Yeduro, Najiva Vetaria, a pine, Najiva Piane. Tuliana to Ponsabido, Chojanelo, Ponsabido Chilichiano. Tende the Lulu, Slapa the Lulu, Volley Tiara. Era it who you quite say Chichibo. Some million no video to bow. Korea, really no video to bow. She then let it video to bow. She then let it Piali the Mofu. But I must say that she then let it go longer. To what is Jupiter to bow. A year Yevari Volley, Era Quavida to go. Shaja to an end to wound a Yoda Mutaro, Pontibo. Ponsan Harry, the one year of you, Pontalo Sea. Take that river, so you do you, but do want you. Ponsa Chidoma of Tele Slava of Keeping Melo. Quasi Gide Gajado Kona Allah party, Kyosongo, we the Machio, the Matendo. Era Balilu Asubalu cover. Tele Slava Machi Ponchi Luci, Laralu Suavi Malo. The Kujilu Quasi Giluci. Labatini Dali Machi at the low level, singing Daya. At the low, the voice she died. Two Katanet, two, Popoyo Piogalu Maniera, Polega, Mula Telania, Macona Molo Doka, Tirema, Neo, Tion, Kio, Pilobere, Chiwata Machi, Tanajoga Atachila Machi. သူ့တဘာဝတိုင်းသူကြောက်တိုက်ဆိုင်လို့ဖြစ်နေတာလေအနတ္တဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒါတွေသူကအားလျော်စွာပေါက်ဆက်နေတဲ့ဟာကိုတစ်ခုချင်းခွဲစိတ်ကြည့်လို့ရှိဒီထဲမှာလှပမှုတွေဆုံးရှုံးသွားတော့ဖြစ်တော့မလှပအစုပါဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီအကျဉ်းစားအဖြစ်လည်းပဲမြတ်စွာဘုရားကလူတွေနားလည်အောင်ဟောထားပါတယ်မြတ်စွာဘုရားတော့ကိုယ်တိုင်သိပါတယ်ကိုယ်တိုင်သိပြီးသားတွေဟောတာစိတ်ကူးရင်လည်းဟောတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါမိမိတို့ခန္ဓာကာယဆိုတော့ပေါ့လေယုတ်တရားတွေပေါင်းစပ်ထားတယ်မှာအဲ့ဒါတွေရှိနေတယ်
Due to causes, there are many forms of rupa, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin, and so on. There are many parts in the body. And when each is in the right place, and they're all put together, then it seems to be good. It looks good to us. But when you divide them up and put hair, all the head hair in a pile, and another pile of body hair, another pile just nails, nothing else, just fingernails and toenails. And then you take all the teeth and put them in a pile, and then peel away the skin and put it in a pile. So in this way, if you put everything, all these different parts of the body into separate piles, and then said, okay, take what you like, no one would take it. Altogether they look good, but separately their beauty is no longer there. And the word for this is asubha. It means that it's not beautiful or elegant. And this too is something to consider. This too is a quality that things have. So mind and matter, they arise and pass away, are born and then die. This is suffering, unsatisfactory, dukkha. And no one can make things permanent. No one can make the body permanent. They can't. Things come together due to causes. And when we look at the things that have come into being due to our karma, as separate things, the parts of our body, then they're no longer beautiful. So this is something that the Buddha taught in general. He knew for himself and then taught it. And this, all the pieces that are in us are termed kaya, a conglomerate of matter. The body is a collection of these things.
အဲ့ဒီမိမိမှာစုနေတဲ့ယုတ်တရားအပေါင်းတွေကြည့်ရပါတယ်တကယ်အရှိအမှန်တရားတွေသိရအောင်လို့ကြည့်ရတာပဲရှိရတာပဲအပေါင်းလိုက်ကြည့်ပါလို့အပေါင်းလိုက်ကြည့်ရတော့ရှုတော့ပြီးသားအဲ့ဒီအပေါင်းထဲမှာလည်းကြီးထင်ရှားရှားဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့ဟာလေးတွေပေါ့လေတုံ့နာတင်တာလေဒါတွေထင်ရှားတယ်တခါတခါပူတာတွေနှွေးတာတွေအေးတာတွေထင်ရှားတယ်တခါတခါမှလည်းပဲမာတာပြောတာတွေထင်ရှားတယ်အဲ့ဒီအခြေခံတကြီး၄ပါးထဲမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အထင်ရှားဆုံးကတော့တောက်တာတွေတင်းတာတွေလှုပ်တာတွေရွေ့တာတွေဒါတွေကတော့ထင်ရှားဆုံးပဲအဲ့ဒီရုပ်များတဲ့မှာထင်ရှားဆုံးကိုဦးစားပေးရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါယတပကနာဥပဿနာပြီးပြီဆိုတာဒါပြောတာပဲအခုဘာမှစိတ်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ရှူလိုက်စိတ်တိုင်းဖုံးပိန်မှုလေးတွေဟာဒါလေပဲလေဝင်လာတော့ဝမ်းဘက်ကတောင်းလာတင်းလာတော့ချက်လိုက်တဲ့လေထုတ်လိုက်တဲ့ခါကျလေကပြော့သွားတယ်လေငြိမ်ပေါ့ လေထမ်းတဲ့လေငြိမ်ဆိုတာမျိုးလိုပေါ့လေငြိမ်သွားတာဒါလည်းရှိတာပဲပေါင်းလာတော့အာမကောင်းဘူးပေါ့ဒီကြားတဲ့ဟာစပြီးတော့ဒီမှာကြည့်ရပါတယ်သူကတော့ဒါပဲဒီတော့ယုံသဘောကိုသိအောင်အားထုတ်တဲ့အခါမှာကိုယ်ရဲ့ဟာရဲ့အကုန်လုံးအပေါင်းလိုက်ပြီးတော့ကြည့်လို့မရပါဘူးရှုခွင့်အကျယ်ကြီးသူကတော့ကျယ်ကြီးကန့်တတ်မရှိဘူးအဲ့ဒီရှုခွင့်အကျယ်ကြီးကထင်ရှားပေါ်ရလေးတွေရှုစရာလေးတွေအကွက်ကလေးတွေပေါ့လေရှုခွင့်နဲ့ရှုခွက်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေနှမျိုးရှိပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီနှမျိုးတွေကအပေါင်းကိုယ်ကရှုခွင့်ကျယ်ကြီးတွေကနေပြီးတော့အကြောင်းအလျောက်ဆိုတာဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့အားလေးတွေပေါ့လေကိုယ်ကရှုလိုက်လို့ဖောင်းတက်လာတာရှက်လိုက်လို့ပိန်ကျသွားတာကြွချင်လို့လှမ်းလိုက်တာကြွချင်လို့ကြွလိုက်တာလမ်းချင်လို့လှမ်းလိုက်တာချချင်လို့ချလိုက်တာဒါမျိုးတွေပေါ့အဲ့ဒါကြီးအသေးသေးပေါ်နေတာဒါတရားအဲ့ဒါတွေကရှုစီရအကွက်ဒီရှားပေါ်လာတဲ့ရှုစီရအကွက်ကလေးရှုခွင့်ကျယ်ကြီးရဲ့ရှုစီရအကွက်ကွင်းလေးကအကွက်လေကွက်ဆိုတာမျိုးရာကြီးရာကွက်ဆိုတာမျိုးလို့ပေါ့လေဒါသူကကစင်းလေးတွေနဲ့ကန့်တတ်ထားတယ်အဲ့ဒီကန့်တတ်ချက်ရှိတဲ့ပြီးပြီလက်လှမ်းပြီးတဲ့ဟာလေးတွေကိုပဲပထမဆုံးစပြီးတော့လေ့လာရပါတယ်ဒါကယထာပတ္တဝိပဿနာပိဋိဝေသောဆိုတဲ့ဝိပဿနာဆိုအမိတ်မှားတာနဲ့တူပါတယ်သူကတော့
There's a big collection of matter in us, and we have to look at it to see what is really there. But if we look at the whole thing, it's not clear. So we have to see the thing that is presently arising, like stiffness or tension, movement, or heat or cold, or hardness and softness. And among the four great elements, stiffness, tension, movement, displacement, this is the most obvious of the four elements. Within matter, we have to give priority to the type of matter that is the easiest to see, according to the saying or principle, yata pakadam vipassana viniveso, to begin vipassana practice with the obvious object. So when we sit and when we breathe in, stiffness arises. This is one form of the air element, stiffness or tension. And then when there's breathing out, it becomes soft, relaxed, collapsed. This is when the air becomes calm and still. It's not as obvious as the rising. So we have to look at what is evident. And we can't look at the whole body all at once, because this is like a limitless field of observation. And within this, there are obvious things, objects to be observed, arising, objects that exist within this large field. So, for example, although the whole body is there when we breathe in, rising occurs. These things arise due to causes. So we breathe in and the rising occurs, breathing out and the falling occurs. Because of the intention to lift, lifting occurs. Because of the intention to move, moving occurs. Because of the intention to place, placing occurs. And these are arising ever new within us moment by moment, and these are the objects to be observed. So there's a large field of observation, and within it there are objects to be observed, like a big field with different plots, like the rice fields that you see, squares within a big area. So we have to observe what is within our reach to observe, as the saying says, according to the obvious object.
One big powerful who don't look at Liha. Shuru 7 sister below Canada, follow. Shulay, one big pound. Shelly, little lady, paying dollar. The car shoot the car phone, the car saying the car paying dollar. Should I say thank you for the pound pay who? Pound, pay night, pay day body. Tuck at the lily shooter over Anupassana, look over there. Anupama Tata, the Anupassana. Takataga G, Takataga shooter about the Maya. Anupasana look over there.
The rising and the falling of the abdomen, that is the air element, which is moving or tense or stiff, occurs in connection with the in-breath and the out-breath. So when there's breathing in, then the abdomen rises. When there's breathing out, the abdomen falls. And to observe every rising that occurs when there's breathing in, every falling that occurs due to the breathing out, to observe this again and again is what is meant by Anupassana. The prefix anu means repeatedly or again and again. Upassana means to look or to see. So this is Anupassana.
Lagi pilih dah mahudo, cilu memilih mahu, cilu bersiku bersihah bawa. Pagi pergi mana tua bila cilu memilih bahu, darai nanti bahu. Era tu cerita bawa. Kulenya pununya, pagi tu pergi tu na, cilu memilih ya sudah boleh. Kau ingat dia sih letung cima, mereka ni cuci lom yau, lepi mana tu abis cuci lom yau, sekiu bersudah darai punya no, jadi tu boleh apa? Kau ingat sesi letung cima, jadi apa lain orang lagi, jadi yang lagi tua lagi, tu lepung lagi, kau lagi, kau lagi, orang lagi sudah macam ni, tekuk orang di tuan ni nama. Lepi mana tua bila cuci memilih, mereka cuci lom memilih aku. Jadi kau ingat sesi lepung miauji dah, panggai panggai apa ni, miauji dah ni tu bawa sama. Jadi tu boleh tu nak lihat apa.
Before the rising and before the falling, they aren't presently occurring. They aren't occurring in the moment. So one can't observe them before they happen. If we see something at that time, it's imaginary. After the rising, after the falling, one can't know them directly. So one needs to pay attention to this. Only the rising or the falling, which is hot and fresh. You have to get it while it's hot, as they say. So it's like when we look at the lightning, we can only see the lightning if we're looking right at the time when it flashes in the sky. We can't see it before it flashes and we can't see it after. But if we look right at the time it flashes, we can see that it lights things up. You can see the color of it, and you can see the form, the shape, how the lightning looks, crooked or circular or whatever. One will know one of these characteristics. So we can't see the lightning before it flashes, nor can we see it afterwards. And we have to remember that the rising and the falling is like this.
ဖောင်းတဲ့ပိန်တဲ့ခိုက်တာမှာအဲ့ဒါလေးမိမိရရဖြစ်ဖို့ဖန်ဖန်တတ်ရှုနိုင်ဖို့အတွက်အလေးအထားလုပ်ရပါတယ်အလေးကျင့်လုပ်ရပါတယ်ဖောင်းဖောင်းရင်အဲ့ဒါလေးပြီးအောင်မှတ်ပြီးအောင်ရှုရမှာအလေးထားလုပ်ရပါတယ်ပိန်ပိန်ချင်းမှတ်တဲ့အလေးထားလေးဒါလုပ်ရပါတယ်အထုက္ခသမှာဖောင်းဖောင်းချင်းပိန်ပိန်ချင်းမှန်လည်းမှန်နိုင်သေးဘူးမှန်နိုင်တော့သဘာဝလည်းမသိနိုင်သေးပါဘူးအလေးအကျင့်ဆိုတော့တိတ်အရေးကြီးပါတယ်အလေးအကျင့်ရှိပါမှခုနမြင်ရတဲ့အရာဆိုရင်မြင်လာတာပဲအလေးအကျင့်မရှိဘဲနဲ့မြင်ရတဲ့ဟာကိုပါဆိုတော့မသိနိုင်ပါဘူးအဲတော့ပထမဆုံးအလေးအကျင့်လုပ်ရမယ်အလေးအကျင့်ရှိရမယ်အဲဒါကိုအနုပ္ပစီလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ဖန်ဖန်ထထပေါ်လာတဲ့ဖောက်မှုပိန်မှုကိုဟောလားရှုတဲ့အလေးကျဲအဲ့ဒါလုပ်ရမယ်တဲ့တော့အဲ့ဒါလုပ်နေတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကိုပါဠိလိုအနုပ္ပစီလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်
In order to be able to grasp or to observe the rising and the falling at the very moment they occur, one has to develop the skill, one has to practice. So one has to develop the practice, or develop the habit of, as soon as the rising arises, to observe it. As soon as the falling occurs, to observe it. One has to work to develop this. And at the beginning, because we can't catch it right away, we haven't developed the skill yet, then we don't see true nature. But it's something that we can develop if we practice. So, only if we work to develop this skill will we be able to do it, otherwise not. So practice, this working to develop the skill is an essential thing. And this is what is meant by Anupassi. That one has to practice in order to repeatedly observe the object. One has to develop the ability of repeated observation. And a person who does this is called Anupassi. People ma lichin loya ma le so do aku kaya Anupassi si lo soပါတယ်လောလောဆယ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့ဖောင်းမှုကာယပေါ်မှာသူ့အမိလေးတက်ပြီးတော့ဖောင်းတယ်ဆိုတော့ဗောလေဖမတတရှုတဲ့အလေးအကျင့်လေးလုပ်ပြရမှာပိန်သွားလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပိန်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဗောလေစိတ်အဆိုလေးထည့်ပြီးတော့အလေးကျင့်လုပ်ပြရတယ်ဖောင်းတိုင်းပိန်တိုင်းဗောလေအဲ့ဒီတိုင်းကြီးမလုပ်ရပါဘူးအဲ့ဒါအလေးကျင့်တိတ်အရေးကြီးပါတယ်လေ့ကျင့်မှများပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ခန္ဓာဖောင်းနေပိန်တိုင်းပေါ်မှာပေါ့လေနောက်ကထပ်ပြီးတော့ရှုတိတာလေးတွေဖြစ်လာတာပဲအဲ့ဒီရှုတိမှုလေးတွေပိုင်းလာတာပဲယောဂီကအဲ့ဒါလည်းအနုပ္ပစီခေါ်ပါတယ်တော့မပြတ်ယောဂီတို့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့ဖောင်းပင်မှုကိုမပြတ်ရှုနိုင်တဲ့အပိုင်းထိရောက်သွားတာပဲဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲအလေးကျင့်လုပ်ပေးလို့ဆိုတာပါအဲ့ဒါလို့မှန်ကန်တဲ့အလေးကျင့်ဆွဲတဲ့မြဲတဲ့အလေးကျင့်မရှိဘဲနဲ့တော့ဘယ်တော့မှဖောင်းပင်မှုမသိ
Tapa Atu Mati, Napa Atu Mati, Tala Atu Mati, the Sayadaw. Pelu Ari Paya Malaya Surabali, Noni Jama Erari, Shishin Pure Pabo. Sikka Namala Aliki Lupia Vare. Senior Solution like Chiro Masika Bureau. Chore, Aliki Luare. Chore, Lana Chara, Edipoma. Sickly Yaw, so we are Lichin Lupia Redoma. Aliki Macau, yeah. Kona Tabawa Mati. Aliki Macau, Alegomaya. Aliki Kong, Aliki Lucy, Alego, a Chupora, Dave. Luciva. You did see such a Lucy, the bar 2 Java. A good show, the little much of Dobby. Pama to do pure night in Shiu. Seguin had a lemcam. Scomatansia, Seguin Jory, I think, now they the military looked at me and said, Sigumapaya, good way. SADHU was at that table, don't live here, Pagalishi, Warrior here. Chichi was chicken by Yada to the deal globally. Go look there, look, Yada, do it the Bawa with your name. Hello, Major, they will solution, or to me that Kama, who sends that he sends out with a water of Kenya, by Yada, she is from Jonah. They just say with a wajiba. Totally a yada, chichiti, Vetama. Did each other gonna Pamu Pemu Valley? No cane shoot a late harley that she was it. A later, Pizona, Lady Conlusi, and Tila Havada. Anupassana, Anupassi should have said on Havadama. Every time, Jotan Java, Dine. Anupassi, Anupassana, she was a pure video body. A legend lopo, a legend yaga, Visation, Kaya, Manham, lady body. No lady Jama, piece of video, pure Ome. You need to have it to also.
What is it that one should practice observing? It is said Kaya Anupassi. So on the arising Kaya, one should practice repeatedly observing. When the rising arises, note it is rising. When the falling happens, note it is falling. And use the label each time. Every time the abdomen rises, every time it falls, we have to try to observe it. We have to practice. It's important to practice. And when one does it a lot, one will be able to, there will be observation on each rising, each falling. One will come to possess a knowing of each rising and falling. So the yogi comes to possess this knowledge. And why does the yogi come to possess it? Because of developing the ability through practice. Without practice, no one will be able to develop knowledge. So in 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month, without working to develop the ability, it won't arise. But what are the energies that are needed for this to happen? Sayadawgyi will speak about this tomorrow. Every second of the time, every rising, every falling, every lifting, every moving, every placing, one has to keep on trying to get the mind there. One has to develop the skill needed to get the mind to the arising object. And if this skill is not developed, then one won't know. But when the skill becomes good through practice, then the results will arise. So try to do it. If you can try carefully, you will know special things within a week. Some people have been practicing for 3 weeks already, but they're not able to say anything definite about their practice. one shouldn't say things that are imaginary. One should only say what is definite, what is. It's just like if we eat a lump of food. If you eat a bit of food and chew it, you know the taste immediately. It's very easy. So if you just, on the other hand, if you think while you eat, if you don't pay attention, then you won't know the flavor of the food, even if it's in your mouth. So one has to chew carefully and pay attention, and then one will know the taste. So Sayadaw hopes that people will develop the habit of observing again and again the rising and the falling, following it time and again. He's talked tonight about Anupassana, repeated observation, and Anupassi, the one who possesses this ability to repeatedly observe and know. And Sayadawgyi will speak about this tomorrow. That's all for today. So,